anyone that's kind of followed me in the past or been to my trainings knows I'm a big believer in mindset, right? I don't think the X's and O's are definitely important. Having the right map is important. But if you don't believe in the actions you're taking, none of it really matters if you don't have a belief in what you're doing. So I believe mindset is the foundation for a good real estate business. Real estate isn't hard because of what we do. It's hard because of how we think about what we do. It's how we perceive those actions that's the difference or not. You know, the reality is nothing works overnight. Rejection is constant. Deals fall apart. The markets change. It's a lot, right? This is not for the faint of heart. You will exit very, very quickly, right? Success isn't about avoiding problems. It's how quickly you can recover and keep going. It's not a question of if. So when the first problem or challenge comes, if we give up, you know, we're defeated. But having a frame of it's inevitable that the problems will come up, right? And it's simply just part of the process. Now, when they do come up, we can keep on rolling. We're in the right frame of mind, right? I like to, you know, share a little story because our brain will play tricks on us, right? Our brain will try to get us to stop doing the challenge or avoid the problem when it comes up or quit. It's very good. Your brain is one of the best negotiators to get you to stop or to get you to be comfortable, right? And that's our biggest battle. It's not the other people. It's not the other agents. It's not the clients. It's our own brain, right? So I always like to share the story of, you know, when I go door knocking, and this will still happen today, every now and then, right? And I'm someone that's really trained myself to prospect every day, hit a certain number of contacts, and yet sometimes I'll go out door knocking, and whenever I go out door knocking, I like to try to make it in a specific neighborhood, something that's going to get a good return on investment. So to usually be a nice area. I'll drive 20 minutes to some particular house. Maybe it's an expired, maybe it's a FSBO, or maybe it's just a neighborhood, you know, that I really want to target and grow in. I'll drive all the way out there. I'll play my whole morning around it, right? Then I pull up to the front house, and then the brain goes, they're probably not home. You don't need to get out of your car, right? Oh, is that a dog? Is that a dog in the driveway? Probably shouldn't mess around with the dog, right? So immediately, this is someone, I do it every day, right? And it still happens, right? It's hard enough. So I got to remind myself, okay, Liz, I drove all the way out here. I'm not going to let you win this time, brain, right? Like I'm going to get out of the car and at least knock on the door. And here's the thing that stinks. 8 times out of 10, you knock on the door and no one answers. I'm like, what the? Like, my brain was right? And it's like, but this is what we battle, right? But it's not about the 8 or 9 times that it doesn't work. It's about the one time it does work, right? And in this business, that one time more than makes up for the 9 times it doesn't. Huge. But it's tricking battling our own brain to get us to keep doing it on those other 9 times and on all the other craziness that our brain is telling us, right? So don't let your brain beat you, or don't let it beat you all the time, because sometimes it's going to win. We all know that, right? All right. So the reality of the job. So everyone knows. There's no magic. Everyone knows what to do, right? You have to prospect daily. You have to talk to somebody. You cannot sell real estate if you're not talking to someone. You have to prospect daily. You have to talk to other humans. You have to follow up with them, because most of the time they're not just going to say, hey, sure, yeah, sell my house, right? If they do, that's usually a red flag. Something's wrong. If they say yes too quickly, your radar should go up, right? Why? You have to stay in touch. You got to know your market stats. You got to learn what to say. You have to know what to say. I'm not going to go in too much of the X and O's today. If you want that, I have that. I can send it to you easily. But I want to go into the stuff that's actually going to keep you in the game, that's going to help you beat your brain when it tries to stop you, right? Most professional agents understand they have to use a schedule. The challenge, again, is, okay, we have this beautiful schedule mapped out. The challenge is actually sticking to it and executing it. So the hardest part, it isn't knowing. It's doing it consistently, even when you don't see the immediate results, right? Even when you get that no answer on the door knock. And here's the seeds we plant today. You don't get paid on them today, right? You can go work a 9 to 5, you get paid on Friday. You go work today in real estate, you don't get paid till 90 days from now. That's a long wait. You have to really believe in what you're doing to make this business work, right? And so I've talked about the reasons why it's challenging. And I think if you don't at least have an awareness, it's really hard to set yourself up for success. But having an awareness of some of this stuff helps us beat our brain, helps us say, listen, this is part of the process. Like every agent that's made it is doing this, right? Every agent that's closing a high volume of transactions has gone through this process. No one has skipped it. You can't skip the 90-day cycle in real estate. Like no one's magically saying, I want to sell my house today and you get that paycheck today. That doesn't happen. Even when it happens fast, it's 60 days, right? That's the fastest. So you can't avoid the 90-day cycle. So a lot of dealing with this is the way you frame it too, right? So in my career, I've talked to over 50,000 people. I've had over 50,000 conversations in the past 11 years, right? That's about 20, 25 people a day, a work day, right? I've sold about 700 homes, give or take. So there's two ways to look at those numbers. You know, I could say, well, geez, only 1% of the time. When I talk to someone, only 1% of the time, 1.5% of the time, does it actually turn into a closed sale? Right? That's defeating. That's defeating. If I chose to look at it that way in the beginning, I never would have made it to 50,000 contacts. Or you can say, for every 71 people I talk to, I close a real estate transaction. Now that's useful. Now I take that information, I say, okay, so if I talk to 71 people, I talk to 25 a day, every 3 days I can close a real estate transaction just by talking to 25 people a day. Now, my numbers did not start at that 71 number. In the beginning, it was probably 200. But you got to go through all that learning to get to, and believe me, there's people that are a lot better. There's people in the 40s and the 50s, but they're still getting told no a heck of a lot, right? A heck of a lot of times. But when you know that number and you frame it different, all of a sudden it becomes exciting because now you can plan your business. You can actually create a year that happens before it happens. Right? Well, if I talk to 25 people a day, I'm going to close a home every 3 days. There's 50 weeks in a year. How many weeks do I want off? I could work every week and close 100, or maybe I'll take a month off here and there, right? A week off here and there for my family, then I'll close 80. Right? But this is numbers. Now, here's a trick to that. You actually have to track what you do, because if you're guessing, hey, come on in, have a seat. We're just getting started. Good morning. Have a seat. Because if you're not tracking what you do, you have no ability to make those predictions. And now it becomes very uneasy. We're getting told no all the time. And we're uncertain when that next paycheck's going to be. And even when you're doing this right, there's ebbs and flows, right? So tracking the numbers, having that frame gives you the reassurance that you need to actually keep going. It gives you the confidence that this is all going to work out. Because guess what? Some weeks, some months are going to be a 0 throughout that course of that year that you've planned on. And then others are going to be 8, right? And it's all going to even out. But having that confidence keeps you on the path. All right. Okay. Well, this is good news and bad news, right? And mindset's not a one-time thing, all this framing and mindset stuff that we've talked about, right? The good news is literally every day starts at 0. So you could have had the worst day yesterday. You could have called 25 people, no one picked up, knocked on 20 doors, no one answered. The next day, it doesn't matter. You're starting at 0. You could have sold $1 million property yesterday. It doesn't matter. Today, you're starting. unless you had a sale, unless you sold real estate that you could retire off of, you made some type of insane transaction that you could retire off of, you're starting at zero the next day, or you're in trouble. You're just gambling if you don't start at zero the next day. You have to take the same actions you took the day before on the new day, right? So just like fitness, you can't go to the gym once and stay in shape, right? You go to the gym once, you come home, everything's the same. You're like, what? This is stupid. I don't want to do this, right? You go to the gym in 90 days, now all of a sudden you start to see a difference, right? People start to look, you start to see it, you don't look the same, right? It doesn't just happen. There's these small micro shifts, that help get that growth. I'm guilty, so we want the growth fast, and that's part of the frustration of this, but it's the consistency that matters. So mindset work, it's daily, weekly, lifelong, especially in this business where we're getting rejected. Keeping our body, keeping our mind even is really, really important, right? Not escalating too high when things go wrong, not getting too low when things go wrong, right? Staying in the middle. We're not getting too crazy excited when things go right. Stay in the middle. That's what keeps us starting at zero the next day and keep moving forward, okay? All right, so now we have some good news. So it doesn't matter where you are today, right? Your mindset can be strengthened. It's a muscle, right? It isn't talent. You're not just born with this great mindset or this great ability to stick with things. This is something that can be learned no matter where you are. If you're already good at it, you can be better, right? If you stink at this and this is not your strength and you're like, gosh, that's stupid mindset, consistency stuff, it doesn't matter. You just have to make the decision, right? So anyone can build mental resilience over time with the right habits. It's these small, consistent daily actions that compound. So here's what I hate to see, and I've seen this happen a lot. I'll talk to an agent, they're trying to do the right thing, they're experimenting with a couple things go wrong and they just disappear, right? Finally catch up with them, you want to see what happened, and they just quit. They just gave up. And there's nothing you can do about that. Like once you make the decision to give up and quit, there's nothing you can do. But I don't care if something bad happened, you got rejected a bunch, you're really down on yourself and your business. I don't care if it takes you a month. I don't care if it takes you 2 months. As long as you make the choice to keep going at some point, then you've won. Because you cannot lose if you go back and try again. You will get a little better each time. Yes, the growth is slow. Yes, sometimes it's painful. But you will have these bursts. You will have these bursts if you keep coming back to your business. And guess what? If it took you 2 months, if you got beat up in real estate and it took you 2 months before you kind of got your groove back, guess what? The next time might take you a month and a half. The next time might take you a month. So every time you come back, it's going to be a little quicker. And then before you know it, you might have a couple hours where you're a little off, and it's like a blip on your radar when you start to get used to some of these things because they've happened before, right? So don't stop. Stay in the game. Don't just quit altogether. You've all worked hard to get to this point, right? Like getting your license, you got to go through all the classes, you got to do all the CEUs, you got to go to your broker meetings, your team meeting, like you've shown a bunch of houses. You got to put a lot of energy into this. Don't just stop it. You've come way too far. Way too far. All right. So there are some tactical, strategic things we can do that improve our mindset. It's period. It's science. It's evidence-based. Like these are things that improve your mindset. Now, I was a teacher for 11 years before I was a real estate agent. And when I finally got the courage to jump into real estate full time, I tried a lot of this. And what I can say is, don't do it like I did. Do it that's right for you. But I'll share a little bit about my experience for context. I tried to do everything at once, right? And what I've learned with everything, not just the mindset stuff, but also with the real estate teaching and techniques, just real estate strategy, pick one thing, work on that one thing, get really comfortable with it, and then add a layer. Because when you try to do it all at once, it becomes overwhelming, and a lot of times you just quit everything altogether. So if I had to do this again, I'd probably pick one or two and I'd keep layering. But instead what I did is I tried to do everything at once, and then I started losing stuff, and I was just like trying to hold on to some of it. So I had a schedule for it, but it was so hard to stick to because I made it that way, right? The other thing I'll say before we dive into this is it's natural for at different points of your life to be more locked in on different mindset building traits. That's okay. That's called normal. It's very hard. We all got hobbies. We all got families. It's very hard to be locked in on all this stuff all the time. But what I will say, even if it's just one, if you literally just have one of these that you just do every day, any one of these is so powerful for your mindset that it can keep you on the right track. But ideally, like for me, I would say I'm really good at probably 3 or 4 at any given point in my life. At this point, I'm really locked in. And then there's always a couple that I could do a little better on. All right? All normal. So find the couple that are right for you. Find the couple that are right for you. I got to get better at that. Okay. All right. So reading. Okay. This is basic. I hated reading when I was in school, hated it. When I would read, I don't know if any of you are like this, but I would read 2 or 3 pages and I would literally not even know what I was like, what did I just read? I was just looking at the words. Nothing was going. I hated it. I hated reading. And then somewhere along the way, again, I think maybe it was the fire of trying to change careers. I forced myself to do it. And somewhere along the way too, I don't know where it was, I wanted to learn. I knew I didn't have the tools to get where I wanted to be. So I was trying to figure out how I could access those tools. So reading was something that kind of drew me to that. Your mind becomes what you feed it. If you feed it negativity, you get negativity. This is such a filter. It's the most powerful thing or the worst thing for us, right? Our brain. Whatever comes in, it's going to affect us at some level. So if, in this day and age, and we're all guilty of it, right? With just whatever the algorithm's feeding us, whatever's on the news, if that's what we're allowing in, someone else is controlling us. We're just being controlled by an algorithm or the news. We have to intentionally feed our brain something different, right? Not easy, but this is why a book is powerful. You can say, hey, I want to work on XYZ, or this is not right in my life, or I don't know about this. I want to expand my reality a little bit and learn about something different. A book is an intentional way to put something positive in your brain. And something I learned, this is a hidden benefit of it. I could have the worst day, and I'll sit down a couple minutes before bed and read. That's when I like to do it. And it'll calm me down. Something about reading words on a paper. Don't do the screen. Try not to read on the screen because we're on the phone so much all day, right? The light, everything affects us. There's something about holding a book and reading the paper of the book that will calm your body down when you get into the habit. So reading books, it makes you think bigger. Biographies, real estate books, personal growth. There's so many good ones out there. I got a bunch. I have some here. I have them all over the place in my office, at home. If you need a couple, one of my favorite things about being in a good mastermind group or something is I love to pick the brain of others who are reading good things. I want to read, if someone's doing more than me, I want to read what they're reading. I want to think how they think, right? That's what books can help you do. Whatever bubble you're in, whatever world you know, it could slowly expand that world you know. 10 pages a day, like that's kind of like my minimum. I try to read 10 pages. I'm not perfect at it, but I try to read 10 pages every night. If you just do that, 12 to 18 books a year, like you can learn so much with just 10 pages a day. I put a couple of my favorites up here. The Obstacle of the Way by Ryan Holiday. That's just a great at framing challenges and how to turn it into a positive. If I had to pick one book, this is my favorite of all time, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. Yes, life happens to us, but we also have a lot more control than we think too. And this book kind of reinforces that and teaches that, which I love. Atomic Habits was another good one, but wanted to give you a couple, but I have others if you're interested. All right, journaling. Now this is one, I was not good at early. I really had to force myself to do this, but it's a good one. We already talked about how this business beats us up, right? It could be, the best people in this business, you're losing 96% of the time, even the best of the best, right? So that's a lot mentally, right? This is a great way to process that. It helps us process our emotions so they don't stay all bottled up. It helps us reflect. Tracking daily wins is a huge one. It helps us find, there's a win in every day. I made my contacts today. I had a great conversation with a client today. I had somebody that was pissed off and angry at a situation and I calmed them down. I closed a transaction. I set an appointment, right? I helped someone. I gave them some, it didn't come to me today, but I helped someone. I educated them on something and they were grateful for it. There's wins, right? Find your wins. I tracked my numbers. I stuck with my schedule. Find your wins. There is a great book called The Gap and the Gain by Benjamin Hardy. It's a good, and Dan Sullivan. It's a good, we all again, our brain, we all remember all the negatives, right? We have to think and work to find the positives. If you make this a daily habit, you're finding your positives, right? The Gap and the Gain, why I brought that up is if we were to all take some time and think about where we were last year at this time and where we are today, there are huge wins in everybody's life. Huge. And what's fun about that activity, even if you go back to 6 months, 3 months, even going back to last week, there are huge wins in everybody's life if we just go back to last week. If you give yourself permission to think about it and allow yourself to process that, right? So that's what journaling does. It doesn't have to be a long time. It's 5 minutes a day. Again, this was not one that I came out of the gates rocking with, but I've learned. I would say this is one that I actually have to force myself to do that I don't get excited about, but there's a big benefit. Helps you keep things in perspective, right? Helps us keep moving forward so we don't quit, which is the ultimate goal. All right, affirmations. So this is another one that I just being completely honest, this is one I can improve on, right? There's spots where I do this really well, but it's a hard one for me. And you're going to find this, like you're going to have some that you actually kind of get excited about and some that you're like not as excited about. That's called normal, right? So what is an affirmation? It's something we say out loud to ourselves, right? It's a way of framing information. It's creating a reality for yourself, creating a belief. Now, here's the thing about an affirmation, right? You have to believe what you're saying. If you wake up in the morning, you're in the shower, and you're like, I'm a great real estate agent. I list property. Okay. But if you're just saying it, it has no impact. You actually have to feel it. You have to visualize yourself. I'm a great real estate agent. Start to visualize what that looks like. I'm a great listing agent. Visualize, what does that look like, right? As you're saying it, let your body feel that. You have to believe what you're saying. Like any of this stuff, if you're just going through the motions because you're like, all right, well, I went to this training, let me try it, and you're just doing it, it's not going to work. You have to really believe and focus in on what you're doing. I'm going to bring it back to another book. I read a book about Muhammad Ali a couple months back. And in the book, all throughout the book, everyone around Muhammad Ali, he would always be talking about, I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest of all time. I'm the greatest of all time. No one can beat me. But his whole career, even when he was old, right? He was saying affirmations his whole day to himself. No one be around him. They would just walk in the room. Muhammad Ali's talking to himself, saying he's the greatest, right? Do you think there's a correlation there? Like, yeah, there's a lot of other things that made Muhammad Ali great. But the guy walked around talking about he was the great, and he was the greatest for a long time, right? He was saying affirmations to himself. He was believing, he was creating a reality for himself that his whole body felt, and he believed. And that helped him go be that person in the real world, right? It's important in your business, right? Tie it into your goals. I list one property a week. I find a listing appointment every week. I talk to 25 people a day because that's what it takes to find a listing appointment this week. I will be present on my phone call so I can hear what the other person's saying so I can solve their problem, right? Whatever it is, find one that's good for you, but make it relevant to what you're doing. Affirmations are super powerful. All right, exercise. So this is an important one for me. This is one that I personally enjoy. I was a phys ed teacher first before I was a real estate agent. So a lot of this stuff I believe in really, really passionately. This, I would say, this is a keystone habit. This is one of those habits where if you start to put this in place, some of the other stuff follows a little easier. I think what happens with exercise, though, is people think it has to be this big, grandiose thing. Like you got to go to this gym class, or you got to go in the gym and lift heavy weights, or run for a marathon. That's not what it is. It can be that if that's what you want, sure. It could also be a walk, right? There's a ton of science to literally walking every day, and the health benefits of that, right? It doesn't have to be this grandiose thing. It can be Pilates, yoga, whatever it is. It has to be some type of consistent routine. Changes the way our brain thinks, gives us energy, makes us feel better. And like I said, it's a keystone habit for other things. Now, for me, as funny as this, I was always someone that really exercised, but this was one of the mindset habits, I stopped when I quit teaching and started real estate. I gave myself this illusion there wasn't enough of time. I had to quit something. I had 2 little kids at home. So this was the one thing that I had given up on, right? And luckily I got back to it, but it's always harder to get back to this when you stop it. It becomes twice as hard the next time you start your exercise routine. So it's not just about physical health. It's about building discipline, doing the hard things. Like this is really, it starts to train your brain. You do what you say you're going to do, right? If you're going to go to the gym at X time, you go. Once you start negotiating with yourself, whether it's exercise, whether it's your schedule, you're telling your brain everything you commit to is negotiable. Like, don't make a schedule for yourself. Don't make a routine for yourself unless you're going to do it. These are little sub things that no one can see on paper, but they add up. When you say and do what you say you're going to do, and you repeatedly do that, your brain starts to believe you and stops arguing with you. It'll stop. It's kind of like your kids or your dog, right? If you let your dog out of the crate once at night, the next time is going to be 2 times harder. If you give your kids the sugar, the next time is going to be 2 times harder. Same thing with your brain. If you give in once, it's going to negotiate harder the next time. The good news is you can defeat it. You can win that argument. You just got to start with baby steps. Start with one commitment. And if you know you're not, if you know you're not going to go for a walk tomorrow morning at 7, don't say you're going to do it. Just don't say it. Pick the time and day you will do it. Set yourself up for a win. You're in control. Here's the coolest thing about being a real estate agent. You're control. You're in complete control. I always say that's a blessing and a curse, right? Nobody can tell you what to do as a real estate agent, right? But it's also a curse because nobody can tell you what to do. Sometimes you need someone to tell you what to do, right? It's great for energy levels. You will show up better on the phone, right? You'll show up better for your clients if you have some type of exercise routine. It's an important one. Meditate. Okay, this is a good one. This is probably my favorite if I had to pick. When I first started this journey, I was reading a lot of, and meditation kept coming up in a lot of the books I was reading. I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Okay, and I would go to seminars. People keep talking about it. I'm like, okay. So I started to research it a little bit, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to try it. And in the beginning, it was super, super hard. I would sit there for even 1 minute, and your brain just goes crazy, and you're like, this is stupid. Why? What's the point of this, right? And then it got a little easier. I started to do 2 minutes, then 3 minutes, right? Now I do 10 minutes every day, and I feel like that's a good spot. It's what I think people struggle with meditation. It doesn't have to, and I am not a meditation expert. I'm just sharing my experience with it. I think people think it has to be perfect, right? So they get frustrated and quit. It's just about taking some time to yourself in a quiet space with your own thoughts. And what it does is it helps you separate from all the things that mean so much to us in the present moment, that deal, that whatever. It helps us start to separate from that a little bit and stay calmer. It teaches your body to not be as reactive. And the interesting thing that I found out about this, as I started doing it, I would always just try to focus on my breathing because that would help me clear the thoughts in my head. And then what happened naturally is during the day, something, crazy situation, crazy client or something, I would find myself just naturally go into my breath and calming my body down without even thinking about it. It took a little time for that to happen, but you'll notice that correlation, right? Couple minutes a day, it can reduce stress, it can increase focus. What caught my attention initially with meditation is one of the books I read, I think it was The Happiness Hypothesis, said meditating 5 minutes a day is as powerful as taking any antidepressant or anti-anxiety drug on the market. So when I read that, it kind of hooked me a little. There's benefits to it that I'm not qualified to understand, but I know that it works and it's good for your mindset from personal experience, right? Helps you stay present. It's a good one. So you all came to this real estate training. We haven't talked about any real estate yet. We're just talking about a bunch of mindset stuff. But stick with me. It's super, super relevant. So your frame is one of the most powerful things. I think it's one that's maybe not talked about enough. I already talked to you about the frame of, getting 1% of the clients to doing a deal every 71 contacts, right? How we look at things is huge, right? The rejection isn't personal. Look at it as information, as data, right? Take the rejection, take the situation, step back, learn from it. Because it will happen again. So many of these situations happen again, right? Maybe not in that exact context, but similar enough. So think about how you would handle it different next time, right? Every challenge can be reframed. Tough markets build skill. Slow markets build systems, right? When you're in your business is slower, think about how you can attack your day-to-day different. When your business is faster, you're getting hit all the time. So you need to think about how can I adjust? How can I adapt to the speed, to the challenges that are coming? What can I say different? How can I handle that situation different? But either way, there's a learning curve. So top agents we're all emotional people. Yes, there's different personality types. So yes, we have a little bit different emotion here and there, but we're all emotional at some level. And great real estate agents are made of all different personality types. They're not less emotional. They're just better at reframing. They're not getting stuck on a challenge or a problem. They reframe the situation into a winnable, achievable obstacle. right? We've all been through a deal where there's an agent, or worse, an attorney, who's just blaming. It's this person's fault, it's that person's fault, it's this person's fault, it's that person's fault. And it's like, you feel like you're in quicksand trying to get out, right? And then we've all worked with people who are just like, oh, that's frustrating, this happened. We can do X or we can do Y. Or we can do A or we can do B. Like, how we got to this problem is irrelevant. How can we get out of it, right? And we all are working with a team at some level in this business. You know, whether it's a design team or you're just getting thrown into the fire with random lenders and attorneys, you have to work with people, right? And sometimes, a lot of times, we have to be the leader because that other agent, that other divorce attorney who's doing a real estate sale for his cousin, they don't know. Another new agent who's only done 2 deals and isn't sure how to write that. Like, we have to be the leader. We have to frame it for them. So how you frame things is really, really important. There's 2 ways I wanted to share 2 ways I deal with a really challenging situation. And it depends. You know, one of them can be as simple as just saying in your mind, next, right? Next, okay. Not going to give that any more attention. Next, moving on. But I think, and this could be different for everybody depending on your past, your history, I think we all need something we can tell ourselves when it's like a really, really tough situation or a really, really tough day. Like, you need something you can go to in your head. So for me, something I think about is something a past mentor told me. So there's always going to be 2 roads. Whenever you're faced with a tough decision, there's always going to be 2 roads, right? There's going to be one road that's really easy and clear. It's paved. It's beautiful. There's flowers, right? There's going to be another road that's filled with rocks and cliffs and poison ivy and bushes, thorns, whatever. There's always going to be 2 roads. If you take that easy road, there's nothing at the end, right? When you take the hard road, it takes much longer, but there's always something worthwhile at the end. So that's my game I play when it's like, man, this is a bad day. This is a bad situation. That's the story I remind myself. You don't have to use that exact, but find something. I think we've all heard stories or something like that we can relate to in life. And I think making it a point to go there is super important on those tough days that are inevitable in this business. All right, so bringing it back to your business. So I know I didn't get into any X's and O's today. You're all here for a reason. You're all doing a certain level of business based on your current actions, habits, philosophies, right? Imagine if you actually did what you know you should be doing every day, how different your business would look like in 6 months, in June of next year, or May of next year. If you did, and I'm not talking about every day, plan your days off. Plan vacations. Don't work the weekends. Don't work nights. I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about in the daytime, do the things that you actually know you should be doing every day. Where would your business be? How much better of a position would you be in? Right? Mindset isn't about motivation. It's about systems, accountability. The motivation fades. You can go to these great trainings and you can be amped up for a day or 2. I don't care how good the motivational speaker. In a couple days, it's gone. It's gone. It's just you. You know, in your office, your computer, your car. It's just you. So you have to create some accountability for yourself, right? And some people can do that on their own. Some people can change their environment to do that. But changing your environment is a choice. There's little things you can do. There's big things you can do. Set yourself up in an environment that's going to keep you doing the things you say you're going to do. So your brain knows you're not negotiating with your brain anymore. So why do I spend so much time on mindset? So our team, it's not just about lead scripts. We invest in the people doing the work. We have training systems, coaching systems, accountability systems, because it's the trying to do it. It's not the X's and the O's, it's the doing it every day that's hard. So that's what we've built and how we try to support that. If you do want to be part of an environment, you want to learn a little bit more about how we structure things on the team, happy to talk at a break or after. If not, there's still a lot of learning left. I'm going to take a little break. Thank you for your patience and being such a good audience so far. I'm going to take a little break. You can get some fresh air. You could catch up on your messages, grab some more refreshments. We'll take like a 15-minute break before we get into our next topic. Before we do, anybody have any questions about what I covered so far?
Questions would be great.
Thank you.
Can you show the 6-item slide again?
Yeah, definitely.